Hey guys, what's going on? My name is Vinny, and welcome to Raider Weekly podcast here. I'm trying to do. I used to do a show on Spreecast.com, but then that website went out of business. So now I'm just gonna do some things that are on YouTube, like a post-game quick recap or something. And usually like to try to do things where I can take 5 things that I take away from a game. Yeah, I know it's pretty difficult, especially this is preseason right now, but I mean, there's still things I can take from this first game. I mean, I can't elaborate as much as I can during the regular season, but here we go. 5 things to take away from the preseason game against the Cardinals, the 31-10 win at Arizona back on Friday, August 12th. And the first thing, number 5, taken away, Michael Crabtree looked like he was in midseason form. I know this is just preseason. He only had 2 catches for 38 yards in limited action, but 2 catches for 38 yards, he would have probably been on pace for maybe 75, 80 yards and maybe a touchdown if this was a full game. I'm glad to see that he was ready to play in the game. That's all I could say, elaborate for right now. Number 4, the offensive line as a whole. I mean, whether it's from the starters on down to people fighting for a job, I mean, they looked pretty decent and solid in this game. Quarterbacks did not get sacked at all in this game. I mean, they gave some protection. I mean, I know the quarterbacks look shaky. I mean, McGloin, Carr looked shaky. Cook did okay, but I'm not going to praise him too much because he did this. He did this with second, third, fourth team who are also trying to fight for a spot on the roster. I mean, and some of those were the short slant passes, but I mean, a couple of them did go for touchdowns. So I'm not gonna. But I'm still not gonna get too excited right now. I can't wait. Want to see him in more action. Number three, the play of the running backs. As I said, not gonna get too excited about it because they also went against players from the defense from Arizona who are fighting for a job. But at the same time, I really think that both DeAndre Washington and George Atkinson III both took advantage of the opportunity they had back on Friday night against Arizona. I mean, you had DeAndre Washington had a couple of big runs. George Atkinson III had a 53-yard run. I think he had like a 30-something yard run. Both of them for touchdowns. Atkinson only had 97 yards on only 5 carries. I mean, thanks in part to those 2 big touchdown runs, as I just mentioned a few seconds ago. It's already made clear that Washington is probably going to be the backup running back to Latavius Murray coming up this regular season. But George Atkinson III made a case already to see maybe he could be a third running back, and he could crack the roster because of the suspension of Marcel Reese. Because usually it'd be Marcel Reese being the third that can be used as a third running back, even though he is listed quote unquote as a fullback. But Reese is suspended for first 3 games of the regular season, stemming from a suspension dating back to the final week of last season. Number two, the penalties. And I'm only going to emphasize on the pre-snap penalties. Yes, I know it's preseason. However, this game was played in a dome, and I really want to use that as a concern because even though this was a preseason game, it was still played in a dome. Guess what, folks? Newsflash, the Raiders play at New Orleans on September 11th, week 1, when the games do count. And let me tell you, the crowd will be even bigger in the Superdome. It'll be louder. So they got to learn to work on these pre-snap penalties the rest of this preseason, the rest of training camp, and get ready for the loud crowd that's going to be taking place in New Orleans. And yes, I know that there's going to be a big contingent of Raider fans, but they're still going to be outnumbered by the Saints fans. Let's get real here. And number 1, it's just preseason. This is why this is a short video. It's just preseason. We can't get too excited. I mean, yes, it's great that we had a win. Start off the preseason with give a little momentum. a big win too, by the way, even after early struggles in the game. But we don't want to get too excited about a preseason win in week 1 in August. I just want to make sure that we get excited when our players get to the regular season and the preseason all healthy, and that we focus on actually game planning when we get to the regular season. I mean, coming up, we'll be having another one next week. I mean, these are going to be a little bit longer as a regular season comes around, so we can actually elaborate more on games that actually do count. But this is just preseason for me too, doing these, as I'm going to start trying to make these weekly. I mean, I was a little late getting the Arizona Cardinal one. I mean, this is Tuesday the 16th, and the game was played back on Friday, but I finally had the opportunity to play or to make one of these. So this is just preseason for me too. I'm making these. Prayerfully, hopefully, I can actually be consistent enough to do one of these every week coming up. I mean, I'll try to get one coming on this weekend after the Green Bay game, which is being played on Thursday on the 18th at Green Bay, 5 o'clock Pacific time, 8 p.m. Eastern time. Check your local listings. I know the NFL Network will probably be playing replays of that game on Thursday night, maybe late night Thursday night, early Friday morning, depending on where you guys are. So that'll be it. Follow me at Raider Weekly on Twitter. You can like the page, the Raider Weekly, which I'm going to have to change the name. It's currently Raider Weekly on Spreecast, but it's going to be changed pretty soon because it's no longer on Spreecast. So you can like that on Facebook. And also subscribe to this channel, Raider Weekly, here on YouTube. And looking forward to seeing some of your comments on this, what you think about what you guys like to elaborate on, even though this is just only week 1 of the preseason. Really nothing to get too excited, and really nothing to get too concerned about either, because except for maybe Mario Edwards Jr., which the news on him is he's going to be out 4 to 6 weeks after suffering an injury early on in the season, and the preseason opener against the Arizona Cardinals. So that's somewhat of a little concern, but there's got to be opportunity. This is what the preseason is all about. Somebody getting the opportunity to fill in, shine, just like as I mentioned earlier with the running back play of DeAndre Washington and George Atkinson III. But until next week, when I do the recap, when I recap or take 5 things from the game against the Green Bay Packers, I will see you next week, and you guys have a good week. Go Raiders! Raider Nation, baby. Have a great night.